Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone, and welcome to How to Build a Business Without Code with Matt Locke. My name is Colin Mahan, and I'm a program manager at the Nasdaq Entrepreneurial Center. And for those of you who may not know, the Nasdaq Center is a nonprofit dedicated to enabling entrepreneurs from all over the world to realize their maximum potentials and grow. As you may have just seen in the chat, the Nasdaq Center, along with our partner Mentor Cloud, launched a free mentor matching platform for entrepreneurs called Mentor Makers. You can create your own advisory board to guide and inspire you with in-the-moment mentorship from topic experts and professionals dedicated to providing exceptional mentorship to entrepreneurs across all races, industries, and geographies. So you could find or become a mentor today by using the link in the chat. Mentorship matters to all entrepreneurs. Their success is dependent on it. Quick housekeeping, we're going to open up for live Q&A at the end of the event, so please submit your questions in the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen throughout the presentation. We'll try to get to them all. Now, none of what we do here at the center would be possible without all the amazing support from our sponsors, including Lehigh University, Nasdaq, Bank of the West, KPMG, Wilson Sonsini, Woodruff Sawyer, and BPM. We're humbled by their contributions. Now, during these still, I'd like to say unique, but we're all used to it now, times, we're curious on how sentiment is among the entrepreneurs that we work with. So I'm going to just take a quick second to launch this first poll to just let us know how you're feeling about your business right now, this moment. We've been measuring this since the beginning of the pandemic. So hopefully with things looking up in some ways and some things not changing in others, that things are looking a little more optimistic. So thank you for participating. I'm just going to give this another minute or so. Looks like optimism's winning, but do understand that there's a little bit of survival mode and anxiousness out there. Hopefully our presentation today and the ones that we will be hosting in the next month will help alleviate some of that sentiment. Now, without any further delay, please join me in giving a warm welcome in the chat to our special guest, Matt Locke. He's a close friend of the center. He's a Milestone Makers alumni, and he's a serial product builder. Matt, welcome.
Hello, I'm really excited to be here.
Excited to have you. Over to you, my friend. Good luck.
All right. So I guess I'll get started here. I'm going to launch the little slide deck that I have put together. So thank you for joining me. My name is Matt, as Colin was mentioning. I have worked with numerous different startups and have advised multiple startups. So I'm really excited that I can actually teach this course with Bubble. And why I'm so excited about Bubble is it's really great. It's like a great tool that makes it really easy for you to ship your ideas as fast as possible. Prior to this, the world of code and no code, usually you couldn't do something so robust as you can now with Bubble or these new no code tools. So but before we jump into that, I'd like to just kind of let you know what the agenda is for today. I'm just going to give you a quick intro, a little bit about no code, what it's like to build in Bubble, and then I'll answer any questions that you might have. So yeah, let's just get started. So what is no code? So essentially, no code is a development approach that doesn't involve coding. Now, that's easy to say because sometimes there is light coding that is involved if you want to do like special case scenarios, like if you want to make, animations happen a certain way, or you want to adjust how a viewport should look like if you want your headers to be stretching to a certain size. Sometimes you have to do unique things with the design that you have in front of you, but it's not like you're coding anything from scratch. Going back. And the current landscape of no code is pretty exciting. Before a lot of people were just using WordPress or Squarespace or one of these different tools like that would allow you to just like put a website online. And you could say that was like no code 1.0. Nowadays, you have a total landscape that you can do almost anything with. And I wouldn't say everything, but you can do some really interesting stuff with. You can do like machine learning with it. You can do like, you can integrate APIs with it. So you can do like payments. You can do, you can even work with open APIs, OpenAI's API to do like kind of like an AI bot of sorts. So the landscape's pretty vast now, and you can have stuff from chatbots, emails. You can even build mobile apps. You can build full stack websites, which we're going to be doing today with Bubble. So yeah, as you can see, it's a pretty massive space, and there's a bunch of tools here that's a lot of like what you see is what you get. So you don't really have to know code to do it. Sure, there's like there's learning curves to everything, but it's pretty easy to pick it up and read like a tutorial and then get going. And so why I chose Bubble to why I like Bubble is, it's really fast to develop. Like the site that I'm going to show you that I'm going to give access to everyone. I built it in maybe like a couple of days, and it was like 2 to 3 hours a day at most. But what's really great about it, it's easy to get your ideas out as fast as possible. They have a robust like APIs, integrations, and plugins network, so that you could integrate Stripe, you can integrate Twilio, you can integrate SendGrid for emails, you can do all types of neat stuff. And it's just like a couple lines of plugging it into your app. And also they have a huge plugin marketplace where let's say you don't know how to code something, or you don't know how to integrate the API. There are a community of people that have built plugins that will solve certain use cases that you might run into. And Bubble is also built on AWS. So the records that, it uses a relational database, but most of that stuff is on their AWS. And you can actually, depending on how you grow and if like Bubble works for you, you can actually split off from a shared instance. So like how Bubble is built is like your account is shared with multiple different other accounts on an AWS instance. So essentially you're sharing the same server. So all the data is all on the same server. But if you grow, which hopefully you do, you can actually get your own instance through Bubble. And, they have different types of packages for that. But what's neat about that is now you're on your own instance, and they make, they kind of create like a copy of their Bubble developer for you, so that it's a lot more performant, where it's faster. You're not sharing the server with anyone, and it's all yours. It's all private to you. And lastly, community is really important here, where they have a really strong community online. They have people that are constantly answering forum questions. You can see like the CEO sometimes jumping in and answering questions that might need answering. So it's always easy to go and get the information that you need, because the community is so robust. And as well as there's also a lot of forums out there inside the Bubble that will answer any questions that you might run into. And there's always pretty good answers out there for that. And as I was mentioning earlier, some of the upsides that I see from working with it, it's other Webflow or other website designers. Usually you need to do some type of integration, whether that be a Zapier integration or a Airtable, which manages the database, or a Google Sheet. You're constantly using these other platforms and stringing it together with Zaps or things. Zap, which is a Zapier product, which is a if this then that happens. You don't have to worry about that with Bubble, because they have a database system built in, and it's a relational database. So it's imagine sheets connecting together, like a Google sheet or an Excel file that's connected together that can string data along. And so it makes your application smart, which is why Bubble is great, because you can actually build a real application, and you can get to market pretty fast with an idea and not have to pay the engineering cost that you would have to usually pay to like build an app. Like what would take 3 months plus to build an MVP prototype, you can essentially get to market in a weekend. And it's the Bubble is great too, because the programming style is like what you see is what you get. So if you put an input box down, when you put it down, that's what that input box is going to look like. And if you put a background down, that's what the background is going to look like. You see everything that you're putting together, so you visually know what the application is going to look like. And there's an easy transition here where there's third-party apps and services that you can push out a mobile app, like on Android and iOS. So let's say if you built like a Bubble app, there's an easy path forward to also create a mobile app with that. And at the company that I was working at, we actually did do that. And then we had an app in the marketplace and everything like that. So it's really neat because you're doing this without like really writing any code. And it's compared to the cost of launching an application after 3 months with like real developers and everything like that. You can actually test the product faster, and it's not as expensive. So there are downsides with everything, and in this case, Bubble's downside is their responsive engine isn't that great. So unless you get really good at it, it can be pretty confusing to like create responsive websites. And now it's doable. It just takes some time to get really good at it. Usually, what you want to do is you create a web page for web, and then a mobile page for mobile, and then Bubble's smart enough to know the difference so that it'll show a mobile site when someone's accessing your site on a mobile. It can be slow at times. So like if you're new to Bubble and you create like workflows are just like in Bubble, workflows are like how data gets passed through your application, or how the application is connected to one another. These workflows can feel sluggish at times, especially if you don't do them right, and it's easy to do it wrong. Just because Bubble, with Bubble, you have to be very clear with what you're trying to have it do. And at times it can also feel a bit clunky because you feel like you're doing the right thing and it's just not working out right. So, I mean, you just get better over time with these things. And the funny part about this, it scales, but it doesn't. It scales because it uses AWS and like all these other things, but it doesn't because for the most part, I mean, my knowledge around this is dated to like roughly 6+ months ago, was that they don't know how far it can scale. So, and from my understanding, there were some companies that were generating like hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue per month on the app, and it was working fine, but they just don't know what that cap is. And, hopefully by that time, you probably don't need to depend on Bubble long term. It's like a good solution to prove an idea, build it out, get it out into the market, and then grow. And then maybe like by that time, you'll have the resources to build like real functional technology. And I'm not saying Bubble's not functional technology. I'm just saying that like there's probably a window where you want to use Bubble until so yeah. Now with that said, let's jump into the product that I built for this. So if anyone wants to take a look, you can go to Stonks with a Z, to see the website that we're gonna look through. And yeah, so hold that thought. So hopefully everyone can see that. So this is the current website that I built for this class. After we're done with this, I'll send over all the details so you guys can take this as a base for whatever you're looking to do. What's really cool about this is there's a sign up flow, there's a profile flow, and there's some API integrations here so that you can just like start learning how to connect APIs to it. So with this app, this is what Bubble looks like. If you can look on the right-hand screen. So this is kind of like the what you see is what you get builder. This is currently the homepage. As you can see, this is Invest with Friends. You have like a subtitle, and then the title, and then like a button. And these are all the different channels that you can go through. So this is how you would build a workflow. So for instance, create my portfolio. I can click Start Edit Workflow. Currently, this is going to go to the stocks page only when a user is logged in. So, and then you can also have it so that it pops open a login, a log out if it's, if you're not logged in. This is also the database, so you can create different database tables. For instance, this is a user table. This is a profile table. I was going to build a stocks table, but I didn't go too deep with that. You can also see the different, this is all the things that are in the database. This is just a bunch of messy data, so I apologize. This is also up more data of just users that I was messing around with it, testing out the product. But yeah, so the profile system has avatars. You can write in about, there's first name, followers, and to create a new field, you just go into data types, and then there's a button that says create new field. So you can just click that, and let's say a new field would be like active user, maybe not put a question mark, but then you can change that field to, like, for instance, this would be yes or no. So then you can do you can then tie a bunch of use cases to this field if you wanted to, but we won't create that right now.
Matt, can you zoom in on the right-hand screen a little bit?
Yeah.
To make the text a little bigger, but it looks great.
Okay. So you can also set privacy rules for certain types of users. I didn't set anything, so you might want to jump in there and look at that a little bit more. There's, it can get pretty hairy pretty fast, but it's also really powerful because, perhaps like if you wanted to set rules where like this user type should be able to see these types of like data, for instance, like you could have like an admin account that could see all like whatever anyone is following, and then you can have just a user account that can only see followers that let them follow their account. In this case, you can only see like what stocks people are following. What else? So this is styles, so you can set styles for like your whole app as a global style system. So for instance, like if you wanted to set like different alerts, you can set different buttons. Like right now, I have this primary button. Like if I just change this button color to yellow, that's going to apply that to the whole app. So let's say, and then Ooh, I don't know what I did. Okay, so for instance, we're gonna deploy that new button to live. You can see that this is telling you to refresh it. So we just changed the color of the button at a globally. So let's say if you're using these primary buttons or anything like that, you're now creating a unified language of style for your app. So now what's good about this is you're not using like mismatched buttons, mismatched colors. You're not using different text in different places. It's all unified where it's like, this is like, for instance, this is the headline, this is a heading, this is a text, and then you can change that inside of here. So for instance, so back to this. So this is the website. You can just sign up here. We'll just sign up with my email. So you can sign up here. So it's taking you to the profile. So this is what the create profile looks like. I know it's kind of zoomed in, so you can't really see it that well. But right now it's blank. So you can click edit. You can add a profile photo. I'll use this mango. I'll use my name. So save, and once you save it, it should save it to the database. So if you look at the database, let's refresh this data. Looks like there's a bug in the system, but we can take a look at that later. So you can jump in and see stocks. And what's neat about this is this is all pulling from an API. I know why. We should look at the live data. So for instance, so this is all live data that's happening through the website. And so when I had signed up right there, you see like I wrote, I like mangoes, this is my avatar, first name, full name, handle, Twitter. It's creating a whole new field in the database when you're doing that. And what's cool about this is like, it's all in one system rather than having to build a Google sheet for this and then tying it with the Zap and then moving data all over the place. It's all unified in Bubble and you can build it all there. And what's cool about this page right here is it's being pulled in from an API. And I'll show you that right now. So for instance, if you go to API connector, you can see where I am creating these API calls. So for instance, this is it's getting data from the API, which are these tickers, and then I'm passing an access key to be able to access that. And what's really neat about this is like most of the web is just like built on APIs, essentially passing data back and forth. And so you can actually take this and like maybe integrate the Stripe API. If you want to do payments, you can integrate Twilio if you want to do like blinking of a phone number or like doing text messaging or a messaging system. You don't have to rely only on Bubble. You can bring data from all over the internet. And also it's really cool too is like you have all these different plugins. Like for instance, I'm taking these icons in from a plugins and the plugin market's like huge. If I didn't want to connect Stripe via API, there are a bunch of Stripe integrations that you can just download and install a plugin, for instance. Oh, looks like I spelled Stripe wrong. The problem about the plugin interface is it's a bit laggy. Yeah, so there's different APIs that like are really easy to use. For instance, I really like Stripe.js too. I've used that in the past, but it's not going to let me install it because I'm currently in the live product right now. But then it's really like you can install the plugin, then go to Stripe, sign up for an account, bring your API keys here, and then easily set it up. So as you can see, this is the stocks page, and that is right here where I created this repeating group that's pulling in API data right here. So you're pulling data from this API provider, and then you're passing the data through and looping it multiple times onto this repeating group. And what's neat about this is like if I click follow, it's gonna follow these different stocks. And then now you can also look at people's profiles and be able to see, well, you should be able to see it. Looks like it's not working. Oh, looks like this is broken. You were supposed to be able to see the stocks that are that the person's following, but it looks like it's not passing the data right now. So I think that's broken right now. But like you can jump in here and edit the profile and go back here and just like kind of edit profile. See stocks. I mean, we can see if we can fix this real quick. So stop. Okay, I think that's broken. But anyway, so as you can see, like you can build these pages really fast, and it displays instantaneously. So like as you're designing, you can push the design straight to the front end and be able to see directly like how it's working or if it's working, and then go about fixing it pretty easily. So yeah, and that's like a really baseline of Bubble and like the uses that you can do with it. Obviously, it's way more robust than this. Like you could do a lot of like complicated workflows. Like for instance, like anytime a person signs up, you can then send them an email and then send them a text message to confirm. Like you can do all types of stuff. And I had built this in a couple of hours over the weekend. So I mean, so if you have like an idea or you've been dreaming up something to build, I think Bubble is like the best product to move forward with it. The learning curve is slight, but it's not like a weekend of just watching YouTube videos. You can get up to speed to like build like a test product, and yeah, you can go from there. So that's Bubble.
Awesome. Thanks, Matt, for showing us all that. And of course, yeah, with the likelihood of it bugging while you were showing people is
yeah, I'm like, oh no. But
all good.
It's an easy fix. It will take me time to look through it, and I
all good. And just
you all would want to see that.
With any of this, it's just trial and error, and yeah. So I mean, it's that what you just did would cost thousands of dollars to set somebody up. So
yeah, and I've been a technology consultant for a very long time, and I've had people come to ask me about like, hey, I have an app that I'd like to build. Like, how long would it take? And something like this could possibly take like 2 months, and 2 months with a front end, back end, and designer, like that gets costly really fast. And luckily for me, I'm a designer and a developer, so I can like see it. But like it can become really expensive really fast, especially if you're bootstrapping, or you're just wanting to test out an idea, or you just want to get a product in front of people. I think Bubble is like one of the best tools for that.
Love it. Well, before we jump into Q&A, because I know we've got some great ones, we're going to launch a quick final poll that helps us understand the future programming that you and our audience today wants to learn from. So take a moment, let us know, out of these areas, what is keeping you up the most at night? We'll take this data and hopefully provide some courses around these topics that are keeping you up at night, and hopefully help you sleep better. So thanks for participating. I'm gonna end this, share these results, really all across the board, but it looks like finance, sales, marketing, scale, pivot, but finance at the top of the key. So we'll keep that in mind. All right, Matt, we got some great questions. So let's just get started. You can pass on this one, but I'm interested into hearing your answer. What's Bubble's roadmap look like for Web3?
It's funny because actually there are some people that are building things in Bubble for Web3. I'm not 100% versed in what they're using, but a lot of Web3 is just front end stuff anyways. You're just communicating with a blockchain. So depending on what blockchain you want to use, there are different calls that you can make. And I know that there is a class, I think it's called superbuild.io, that has a class for Web3 and building with Bubble in Web3. Here, let me.
Awesome. You mentioned some apps that have done pretty well with using Bubble. Do you know any publicly available ones that are built on Bubble that they can poke around on?
I don't know anyone off the top of my head, to be honest. You can go look at their showcase. So here I can mark that right now.
Oh, they have case studies on their website?
Yeah.
All right, awesome.
Yeah.
How is Bubble related to Navigator.io?
I just think it's just, I think Navigate, if I look at it, I've heard it before. I think it's just another one of the tools in the space. The space is getting more and more robust as more and more developers see that, you can build something and allow people to, you think about these no code things as like Lego pieces. They're just giving you a new toolbox with different Legos that you can build with. And you might have blocks as one, or Legos as the other, or Technics, I think, was another one. It's just like you can build like a toy car with it, but you're using different types of Legos to build a toy car.
And it's a leaner way.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm sure this is a yes, but is there a way to hire somebody to design and develop Bubble for me?
Yeah, I mean, there's a pretty big communities of freelancers in the space. I mean, like, one of the cool things about this is like there's an integration with Figma. So if your designer is designing in Figma, and if they're designing to spec, it's easy to translate that spec into a Bubble spec, because it's all using pixels at this end of the day. So if you set up your Figma as like 1440, and then you have also your designer scale it down to like I think it's like 960 or whatever the mobile, I think mobile is 365 pixels. You can design in those spaces and then translate that design into Bubble like seamlessly. And I think like that's always the place that you want to be, is like designing to spec, because if you're designing to spec, you can actually understand how a thing should be laid out, and understanding like your real estate as a product build.
Love it. So you mentioned a little bit about this, but what's the best way to like just get started from ground zero? Like they were asking.
I mean, I just shared Super Build. Super Build has like a lot of cool projects in there that is like pretty robust. Also, if you just don't want to, you don't want to bite the bullet and like learn it as fast as possible, you can actually just go to the marketplace, and their marketplace is pretty robust. There's like a bunch of apps that people have built that, you know, like you can get an Uber app in there, you can get like a Airbnb app in there, you have like a bunch of other apps that other people have built. You can just take that and then try to fit your use case onto it. Obviously you're still going to run into the issue with like how data is getting passed, how your workflows should look, what APIs you want to use. Like that is the more tricky part. Like it takes a bit of work. Like I would say I'm still not the best at API integrations. But the great part about this is like you don't have to be good at API integrations, because if it's like a normal use case like text messaging or things like that you need into your app, there's most likely a plugin that someone built. It just gets more expensive per month if you're bootstrapping. Now, if you have like a little bit of funding and you still want to test a bunch of ideas, Bubble's still a great tool for that. So you're not, you know, the goal of the game is like speed to market. And so if you want to test a bunch of ideas as fast as possible, Bubble's great for that. Now, performance and issues around performance, depending on how you implement it, it could be annoying and slow, which might cause a bad user experience. But in this game, like maybe that's not like you can be okay with that as long as you understand like how people are using it, because like people will use a bad product if the product's good, right? So
amazing. All righty, another question here around where is my site hosted? Will I be able to take my Bubble created site with me to host independently elsewhere if I wish to later on?
No, you'd have to pay Bubble. I think that there's an off ramp that like that spits out the front end code, but for the most part, it's like you're paying like their costs are pretty low. It's like it's almost as if you were paying for AWS to host this. So maybe AWS with a premium. So if you think about the premium that you would pay for engineering to build an app, you'd probably be saving in cost by just hosting it on Bubble and getting it started. Because I mean, a Bubble monthly for like a basic plan is like $30. And then you can add on top, like depending on like if you're using plugins or all the other features that you might need.
Yeah, and the plugins cost cash?
Some are free, some do cost. Like for instance, there are APIs for that will give you like, you know, it's like a freemium model. They give you like like part of the usage, but then you have to pay a premium to use like every feature that it has. So
of course. All right, question here around how many environments can you have in Bubble?
You can have multiple environments. Like you can have like multi-app. You can tie multiple apps together. Yeah, I mean, you might have like if you're like building multiple apps. Well, in environments, you can have a dev environment. You can have like different branches of like if you're trying to build different features. It's all built in. Now, I think like there is a branching cap. So like if you have a dev environment and a staging environment and then like a production, for instance, I think that there's like, if for the $30 plan, you might only have 2 environments, but if you pay a little bit more, you get more environments. So let's say if you had like at one point, the company I was working with, we had a team of like 4 to 5 people building on Bubble. and we had like the most expensive plan so that we can have multiple engineers working at one time on it. So.
Super helpful. Question here: how secure is data privacy? Does Bubble have access to everything you build?
Not if you get the big plan. They are pretty good with securities because they host it on AWS, and I think like they provide you your keys. So they're pretty strong with that. And I think I might be wrong. They do have some HIPAA compliant, like they're HIPAA compliant on some things. So I think you can build health tech products as well.
Mm-hmm. I think you just addressed this, but just in case you have any more color to add to it, if we have to transition to a more robust application to scale, can Bubble code be used / transitioned, or at least will it save time and money on the next stage of development?
It would probably save you time and money because like you can understand like your workflow. I am not confident enough to say that the code would transfer over. Now you might get your CSS and like your basic front end code, but the back end logic is not like, you're going to want to use your own like, back end framework, and you're not going to probably want to use the Bubble framework. It's also like, if you're at that point, you're probably going to want to use better technology anyways. This is like really good for like the stage 1 to maybe 0 to maybe 1 stage.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of 0 to 1, what question here about when we're selling product or services through the app, would there be expectations to give Bubble a chunk of the profit?
No, not at all. Yeah, I mean, if you're using Stripe, you'll give Stripe, you'll pay Stripe instead. But like the main thing that you're paying for is you're paying for the usage of it. So you're paying the monthly fees for like just keeping. It's like a hosting provider, if anything. Yeah.
Let's see another question. Currently have a marketplace website. Can I create an app on Bubble and have the data connected to their website?
Yes, they do have API integrations that like that pushes data to like, let's say you have a data lake that you want to push to, you can do that with Bubble.
Mm-hmm. Would you compare Bubble to the Microsoft Power Platform or to Salesforce?
I haven't used it in that like that. I would say Bubble is probably better for consumer apps, whereas like those are more like deep SaaS. But you can build sales tools in here. But I wouldn't say you like all those are like kind of feature deep. Like they have a lot of features to them. You'd have to build up, like in this case, you'd have to build all those features and all the logic that maybe Microsoft BI or Salesforce already has. But you could build like that similar tool. I just don't know if it's how hard it's going to be, because it's just a lot of work you're gonna have to do.
Yeah. Let's see another question. What product is not a good fit to build and launch on Bubble?
I'd probably like say like deep technical products. Maybe things that need to be fast and performant. You probably want to build it somewhere else. I think it's pretty good for consumer apps. Yeah, like I can't speak to like the machine, like if you wanted to build like machine learning products or like I know that you can like tie in like OpenAI's API and build some stuff with it, but if you need something that's very fast and doing all types of like crazy workflows, this might not be the best tool. But like for the most part, like if you're building like a marketplace, this is pretty easy. If you're just building like a landing page that like is selling something on the landing page, like you could build it on here, but you could also build it on Spotify or Shopify, right? It just really depends.
Yeah, it sounds like this does a little bit more than Shopify from like a web flow perspective.
Yeah, this like if you need like interesting logic for like a if then kind of thing. Like if a user does this in my app, show them this, or if, like for instance, a use case could be like, if a person buys this item, notify the user that's selling it, the user clicks a button that says yes, then once that person clicks that button that says yes, send an email and a text message to the person. And so you could make those like types of like workflows happen. Like I've heard people building tax software on it, people building like SaaS software on it. You can build those things. It's just, the more complicated the app, the harder it's going to be to build. I'm not 100% sure of like what you can't do with it, but I know that there are some things that you probably don't want to do with it.
Awesome. Is your bubble data exportable?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a relational database, so it's RDS, so you can like essentially port all the tables.
How do you know how private the data collected on my Bubble site would be? Does Bubble have access to my client's data? You address this.
Yeah, I addressed this earlier. Yeah, your data is private to you, and they are pretty forward with that. Like you can read it in their privacy statements that like, this is your AW instance. Like they set it up for you, but it's kind of like almost like if you set up an AWS instance, like you have your keys. And Amazon can't look at, like Amazon could see hypothetically like how much you're like spending and what type of technology you are, and like should Amazon consider this a business that they should tackle. But like Bubble is probably not going to do that, because their game is that they're building a tool so that you can, it's almost like you can look at this as like, this is React Native, or like this is Node.js, or this is like it's like some type of coding language. It's just that this is visual programming.
That's awesome. Well, it looks like we don't have any more questions, so almost ready to wrap. But Matt, if somebody were to tune into the last minute of this presentation and you were to give them one takeaway from all that you've covered, what would your takeaway be?
Yeah, if you want to build something fast and you want to test out an idea, I think no code or Bubble is like a really great tool, because at the same time, it's like you need to get to market as fast as possible with an idea so that like it doesn't die. The longer you wait on an idea, the harder it is to work on. So just like, I would say Bubble's a great tool for that.
That's great. Well, hopefully everybody who attended can start playing with it and tooling around to save them time and money. But Matt, big shout out to you for spending some time and sharing your wisdom with us today. People are saying learned a lot, time well spent. Thank you. So really appreciate it, Matt. It's great to see you. Great to have you on our platform. For everybody who are still on, appreciate you all joining us, learning with us, and letting us know how you're doing. So if you haven't already, we'd appreciate you checking out that survey to let us know how we did and what you want in the future. But on behalf of everybody on our team, myself, and from Matt, thank you again. And we look forward to seeing you online and at our future webinars soon. Have a good one, everyone.